Time for everyone's favourite ag show, a little bit agricultural. So far this series, we've been exploring the beautiful farmland around the New South Wales town of Moree. We've learnt about pecan growing and the risks and the challenges of dryland farming on several different scales.
We'd say we're one of the most productive shires in the country in terms of the product that comes out of here. So we've got irrigation that fuels a large area of irrigated crop, grain and oilseed and fibre production. I don't know what the value of the produce out of this area is, but it's a lot. You know, it could be $1 billion.
Of course, the bike has been a star. And the farm chat has been second to none.
I was sowing winter wheat in winter,
yes.
Hence winter wheat.
Yes.
And then he can follow his crop after his harvest with. Gonna have to ask him now.
You're meant to be
I haven't been listening.
knowledgeable. Currently, we're just finishing up at Martin Murray's property, heading for the next one. But first, we need to secure Alba the First, which is still not really running on all cylinders. It's so tedious that we have to tie it up and put it on the car everywhere we go.
Yeah.
That's not what was meant to happen.
Yeah, no.
That's not what I signed up for.
No, but it's probably more tedious to just...
On the highway.
Yeah.
I am going to ritually.
What have you got it up to?
But speed?
65.
Yeah, 65.
No, 80. I got it at 80 at least. If the speedo's correct. Which, you know, not quite sure. But I'm going to have a ritual burning of these straps in a couple of days.
They're the worst
Oh, they're terrible.
bike straps I've seen, to be honest.
They were a really quick buy.
Oh, this is really tedious.
I think you told me on the phone, what are your main crops you work with down south, or?
What is it that you do? Because you
Yes.
so far, you haven't been able to tell me much about farm.
No, I'm a bit of a fraud. I'm a bit of a fraud.
Cool, what have you done to this thing?
Probably needs just cutting or something.
Well, yeah, but that sort of rules out
kind of
using it as a
defensive.
strap, yeah. You could fill a whole 1 hour documentary just for this.
Brilliant, isn't it? Really good
Pretty
TV.
entertaining. Just don't hit any big bumps. That's shredded.
If the bike falls off the back while we're going,
It's not the end of the world, I don't think. It's,
I don't think we pick it up.
No.
Yeah, we couldn't have come to Moree and not done a story or focus on this stuff, Oscar. It is cotton, and the area is absolutely famous for cotton. It has been from the 60s, and to this very day, it still grows some of the world's finest cotton.
Yeah,
This
look.
probably came from Moree.
Oh, possibly.
And the supermarket, but probably from Moree.
Yeah, look, cotton is a major industry for Australia.
Yes.
And we use it on a daily basis, all of us.
Yes.
And so this is what I want a little bit of agriculture to be about, is to explore where our food and fibre comes from and how it's grown. Now, this is the very beginning of a little bit agricultural.
Yes.
And so down the track, if we get the opportunity to continue this, I really hope we can explore in more depth all the nooks and crannies of the industries we're looking at.
Yep.
But today we got the opportunity to have a quick tour of Sundown Pastoral Company's Keetar Farm. And Hardy, it's the largest farm I've ever been on.
Sundown Pastoral are an agricultural business owning a few farms, Keetar being the main farm, which is 25,000 hectares. About 10,000 of that can be irrigated. The Guada Valley, the Moree area, really from probably Gundawindi down to Narrabri, it's like the sweet spot in Australia for growing cotton. We've got really good soils here, good floodplain, clay soils, and climate-wise, it's the right amount of heat, not too hot, not too long of seasons, and you know, it's not a super wet place, so we do get enough sunlight most years to grow really good cotton.
The climate is pretty much perfect. That's why not only does Keytar Farm grow a heap of cotton, it's also the location for the area's cotton gin. That's the big factory thing where the cotton is processed. And although we're not here in cotton season at all and nothing's really happening, we still thought a tour of the gin and the farm would be interesting.
They're in the process of pulling the gin totally to bits and rebuilding it for next season.
Is that an annual process?
Yeah. So these are what you call gin stands. It's a 4-stand gin. And if you look at this is the saw here. If you just be careful, it's really sharp. So that's what pulls the cotton seed off the lint. So this is where the bales first come in. They come in as a round module. Removed from the picker, so they'll be put on that platform and it'll drag it up, and then they're on their sides, and that big apparatus will clamp them, lift it up, and then when it expands, the cotton drops out and the plastic comes off.
Yeah, right.
And then it gets torn to bits and then blown up through that tube into the gin.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And this gin's just put in the second stand so they can blend cotton together, so you can have, high quality and a lower quality dryland, and to bring it up to spec, you can actually have that all going at the same time, a bit like blending grain.
Right.
Yeah. And what differentiates quality? When you say quality, is
the staple length, so how long that fibre is. The colour, whether it's been weather damaged or not, so how wide it is. Micronair, so how thick those fibres are. They can either be sometimes too thin or too thick. And then there's strength as well. I measure strength, but strength most of the time, unless it's really been drought affected, it's not too bad. We've had a very strong reputation of having some of the highest quality cotton in the world and the cleanest cotton, so no contaminants or very few contamination issues. So it's been very sought after. Every bale gets a little snippet taken out of it and then gets sent to a classing patch, like a classing room, and they'll put it through a machine which measures all those things. It used to be hand class, like the colour of it, and but now it's all done by a called a HVI machine, and it just goes through this machine. It
Every bale.
It gets a little snippet taken out, and that gets measured. So every bale has got its own quality measurement.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you get paid on premiums and discounts whether you're above or below base grade. But
How many bales would go through this place?
we did about 150,000 through here this year.
So it's a pretty big job, quality.
Yeah, it goes for about four months. Ginny.
Nick, this is another product that comes from ginning your cotton. Mate, tell us what this is. This is cotton seed, and it's quite a lot of it.
Yeah, so it's had the lint taken off it, and just left with the seed, a little bit of fluffy stuff still on the seed, but it's a very valuable high protein feed for animals, so a lot of it goes to cattle farmers, especially for drought feed, but also for feedlots, and then quite a bit of it also gets exported to places like China, and they actually crush the seed. The seed's got a very, very high quality oil called cottonseed oil, and they use that for cooking, like for fast food, fries. Yeah.
I like fries.
Yeah.
Sort of no waste, zero waste.
No, we use everything. So even the so when it gets gin, there's 4 products that come about. There's the lint, the seed, and then there's the trash, and another thing called moat, which is moat's like the little fluffy fine bits, and that gets packed into a bale too, but there's not much of that, and gets sold off for carpets or packing or whatever. But and the trash, we compost the trash, so we put it in a big pile. We can drive past it over there and compost it, and then spread it out in the paddocks for fertiliser.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a compost material.
Big shed and a lot of cotton seed.
Our tour highlighted 3 major areas of investment from this company. The first being water saving.
We've pretty much halved our water use per bale in the last 15, 20 years. I guess we've gotten one of the first steps is good land prep. So because we're flood irrigating most of the cotton, we do have a little bit of drip and a bit of overhead, but the majority of it's flood irrigation. So we need to make sure we've got good beds, good furrow definition to get that water from one end of the paddock to the other. That ensures we get really good water use efficiency, so we only use the minimum amount of water we need to when we irrigate. Getting the fertiliser and nutrition right up front, it's really important. Make sure we've got our NP and K right, and those beds are in a nice form for those planters to plant the seed, because you find that cotton's probably one of the hardest crops we've got to get out of the ground. Once it's out, it's a really tough, hardy plant, but getting it established is very difficult. In some years, you can't plant it too deep, too shallow, doesn't like it cold, and it just once it's established and going, it's very resilient. But that establishment phase is hard.
Nick, here's some cotton coming up, and you were talking about the space between the rows, and that's been a way of saving water.
Yeah, so we're on a narrower row spacing than 90% of cotton farmers in Australia. We call it a 30-inch row spacing. Everyone else is on a 40-inch row spacing.
Okay.
And we've done some trials over the years and found that because we get row closure faster, because the plants are closer together, we're actually been using a little less water.
So when this grows up, it covers the ground.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
What it means is the sun's not evaporating that soil surface there, so it's covered by plant leaves.
So more moisture stays
in the ground.
Yeah.
Quicker. And this is stubble from wheat crop last year.
Yep.
And we try and incorporate all that, just with minimal tillage. So we've cleaned these furrows out, but we didn't go ploughing it all up. We just left those beds exactly where they were from the last crop 2 years ago, and then we've just cleaned the furrows out to make sure our water runs through nice and smoothly and quickly.
And just take us through the ins and outs of flood irrigation. So this field has been laser levelled.
Yeah.
And one end is higher than the other, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So they're around a 1 in 800, so 1 metre drop from top to bottom in 800 metres.
And so you drop the water on the high side and it comes all the way through?
Runs out the bottom, and then gets recirculated back to the dam or back to the next field.
Yep.
So none of that water gets wasted, it just gets recirculated to the next field.
I want to come back when this is all
you should come back.
Yeah.
Working on water savings has been an imperative part of the continued viability of the industry and has been trialled extensively, both for environmental and economic necessity.
We did a trial assisted by the federal government back when the Murray-Darling Basin happened, and they were accusing that, they were in a belief that the flood irrigation was very inefficient, but so we set up a trial site here at Keetal where we measured overhead irrigation, like the centre pivot lateral move, drip irrigation, normal siphon irrigation and bankless channel irrigation, and out of that trial work that we did over 10 years, water use efficiency wise, if the siphon system and the bankless system are optimised with correct grades on our soil type, because they're sealing clays, that they were up to 90% efficient. So that the extra saving that at lateral and drip, like they were probably closer to 95, 94%, but the energy cost and the capital expenditure of pressurising water in a drip system, and then the capital cost of the drip and the overhead irrigators is economically is fairly unviable if you can get these flood irrigation systems up to 90% efficiency.
The second major investment by Sundown Pastoral is in energy and fertiliser, and the company is daring to dream big.
That's probably really been driven by the owner of Sundown, well, both of them, David and Danielle, have huge passion for renewable energies and not being held hostage to energy companies and fertiliser companies. So they've embarked on initially just putting a solar farm in to run the cotton gin. So they've got a 9 megawatt solar farm next to this gin, and it'll run the gin from 7 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m. There's 11.5 kilowatt hours of battery storage, so that kicks in and it'll run it to sort of 10 o'clock at night. That was commissioned this year for this ginning season, so they were pretty happy with the performance of that solar farm. But then the next step is that they've secured a grant from the government to assist with building a hydrogen plant, and that hydrogen plant will also be able to produce ammonia. So basically use, instead of buying urea that we buy from fertiliser companies, we'll be able to just use the ammonia to replace our nitrogen usage, which is one of our most significant fertiliser consumables in farming. So, and it'll help with emissions because it's green nitrogen. So most of our emissions come from nitrogen, production of it, and the emissions that it happens in the soil. So we'll at least get away from the nitrogen emissions from the production, since it's green ammonia made from solar farms.
Now, doing all this investment means a more environmentally friendly produced fibre, and the final investment is about making sure the customer knows it.
To maintain some competitive edge, we're having to look at things like tracing our cotton, which we've developed the technology, the Statham family, to be able to implant a rare earth mineral into the cotton as it comes through the gin, and then that rare earth mineral cotton, which we're branding fibre trace, can be scanned all the way through the process right to your shirt or your garment that it gets weaved into. There's a round container of this fibre trace, and it gets sucked up and put through this machine, which breaks it all into little fibres and sucks it up and puts it into the gin stand as it's going through and blends it all in. Yeah, the minerals emits a different light signature, so they can modify that to emit different light signatures, and that's how it gets measured. Exactly the same as how the US dollar bills get traced.
And then you can come along and scan it with a scanner. And it tells you whether it's yours.
Light up.
Yeah, whether it's got your signature on it or someone else's.
Will it light up if you're walking in a nightclub? Will your shirt will light up?
Could do. It depends what you might be able to get one like that.
Aussie cotton.
You might have a real market
It's been a
there.
few years since I've walked in a nightclub.
This is all Australian technology, like no one had done this. Like the local ginners here have built this,
So you've really pioneered this.
It's the first. So this is actually cotton which should have fibre trace in it, and so that's what, after the ginning process, that's what it looks like. Danielle she came up with a brand called Good Earth Cotton, so that's what we brand our cotton coming from Keita, and we also expand that to other growers, and we've got a couple that have joined up, and so they've got to have all the good credentials as well as being traced with the fibre trace, which is another part of it. But you need to stack up with, you got to be best management practices accredited, and have that soil carbon in a positive trend, and all that sort of minimal till, water use efficiency practices that we do here. It's getting driven by the brands, and obviously the brands are driving because their customers are asking, where's the cotton made? Like, has it been done environmentally friendly? Like, how many carbon emissions does it be putting into the atmosphere? So all these things are getting questioned. I suppose the younger generation's really on the job with that, and so they're wanting to be able to tell a good story about their clothing garments.
That is seriously mind-blowing stuff for me. Talk about investing into the future. They're talking about building their own hydrogen plant, for heaven's sake. They're using rare earth mineral to trace their cotton. I mean, the same stuff that goes in US dollar bills. I had no idea that Australian ag was up to this sort of stuff.
No, neither did I. I absolutely loved it. That was really fascinating. That fibre trace stuff was absolutely fascinating. And look, it just shows the investments that are being made in the industry. But look, Hardy, you can't talk about cotton in Australia and not talk about water.
It's the elephant in the room.
It is.
Yeah.
And look, we here at Alba are not going to solve the complexities of water usage in agriculture, but we're certainly going to talk about them. But what I learnt today, which I found fascinating, was the amount of work that has been done on trying to drive water use efficiency and make real savings that have made a real difference, both for the environment and economically for the businesses. So I found that brilliant, and hopefully down the track, as we do more a little bit agricultural episodes, we can come back to these industries and have a more in-depth look.
Yeah, I mean, we were only at Qatar for a couple of hours in the morning, and it was, it'd be great to come back when there's cotton on the ground, because that'll make for very pretty pictures. Now remember to like and subscribe to A Little Bit Agricultural to find out more from the Australian agricultural scene, and we will have more of this show coming up very soon.
Absolutely.
Now next time on Alba, a bit of a look at the Moree region before all the farmers turned up.
Our grasslands provide a really good seed that can be milled into flour. Gunnelay is a really healthy seed, and the old people, they knew it. They had it right in the beginning.
They lived off it.
They lived off it.